perform live from Studio A.
It's Columbus radio at its finest.
They like it. That's where the support comes from.
I love WCBE, and I can't imagine Columbus without it.
And Danny Nicely, who in a different year also won first place in mandolin and guitar. And Les Thompson, the original Nitty Gritty Dirt Band bass player, like me, he called me up and we started the group in 1966.
Isn't that nuts? Well, we're happy to have you here today, and you're nothing to sneeze at there, John McEuen.
I'm what?
We're happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Such a storied career, and we're going to talk about, there's a couple books out there, and let's get warmed up with the song, and then we'll talk about it. But first, what can you describe what you're playing? I don't get out much. I know it's some sort of guitar, right?
What, the guitar?
That you're playing.
The guitar was made in South Africa.
Look how cool it is.
Sounds pretty good. And when I started playing in 1960s, I was trying to play the banjo, and the things on the radio were like... or either that would come on the radio, or maybe... everybody knows what those songs are, and I'm out there with my banjo, going, trying to pick. Get it! Look at me! And my favorite one though was maybe I'll just play a little bit of it.
Okay.
The lick.
Let's hear it.
Here we go. Isn't that cool? Just. I'll play a little bit more.
Okay.
I want to see how many minutes it take for you to recognize. Anything yet?
Dun, 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 dun.
Got it yet?
Is that Beatles? What is it?
Chamber. Yeah, thank you. Somebody came in.
Close.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but that's beautiful.
I do that on stage. I hope some people come by Natalie's Grandview, whatever it is, kitchen music hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a great time playing there last time.
Yeah, well, there's not too many seats left, so people better hurry up.
They better hurry. Because it's just... It's a long way to go to get to Columbus. No, it's a fun deal. It's starting a four-city trip. We're doing tonight in Columbus, Ann Arbor next night, and Fremont, Michigan, and then Evanston, Illinois.
And we have a pair of tickets to give away for the show tonight.
You do?
Yes, we do.
Oh, maybe I'll get lucky.
And by the way, this is live on Facebook and our YouTube. If you want to check out this cool guitar, you just got it from Africa. How long have you had this?
About 4 or 5 years. 5 years, maybe. I got it from George Gruen in Nashville, the famous guitar guy. And John, I've got a guitar I'd like you to look at. George, I'm not going to buy anything today. I'm just looking. Oh, you got to try this one. And he was right, and I needed it. I like that.
Yeah, it's so different, so beautiful. But let's hear an entire song.
Yeah, I'm looking for my thumbpick. There it is.
And then we'll come back and see where it all started with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and your life as a multi-instrumentalist. And it's been going on for quite some time. We're so honored to have you here.
Well, thank you. I want to deliver you a message. This is like it should be a public service announcement. Just an important environmental type of message thing, you might say. And it was first delivered by Hank Williams Sr. Luke the Drifter, you know that name? Well, he said it this way. If you ever sit up straight in bed with something circling around your head, you You swat at it as it whizzes by, and it's just one pesky little fly. You shake your head, twitch your nose, settle down to sweet repose. Then when you're just about to doze, fly trouble. Buzz, 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 goes that busy little fly. Buzz, 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 he's taking off and high. So you roll the paper nice and tight and wait around for him to light. But there's a fly that's living right. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Well, the toughest hide grows on a mule. He's a bulky, stubborn fool. He likes to look at you and glare and never even move a hair. But when his muscles start to twitch, when that old tail begins to switch, why, that mule, he ain't bothered with an itch. Fly trouble. Buzz, 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 goes that busy little pest. Buzz, 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 that mule don't get no rest. He shakes his head, bats his eyes, and kicks his heels up to the sky. You ever see a jassack cry? Buzz, buzz, buzz. Now Hank Sr. had to say jassack because they were afraid if he said the word that it stands for, that it might not get airplay. So you pick a perfect night in June. Flowers are blooming neath the moon. Your light of love is burning bright. You tell yourself tonight's the night. You brace yourself and your courage grows. You get down on your knees. You're gonna propose. And right about then, something bites you on the nose. Fly trouble. Buzz, 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 goes that busy little thing. Buzz, 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 you swat and lose a ring. You fan the air as he goes by and stick your finger right in your eye. Hit everything except that fly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Oh, take it off. Fly trouble.
It's John McEuen joining us live from Studio A. Tonight's the show with the Circle Bands. Doors are at 6:30. At 7:30 showtime. And we'll have a pair of tickets to give away after the next song that he'll perform for us today. A couple more to go. We'll take us back to 1966 and instigating what came to be.
Instigating?
And yeah, you were an instigator.
I would say initiating.
You instigated this band.
Initiating would
Okay,
be
there you go.
nicer word.
All right.
Well, the Dirt Band was starting in 1966, and we were doing songs like Washington at Valley Forge, freezing cold in upslope George, Vododio, Vododio, do. And it wasn't. Billboard magazine said highly entertaining, doubtful if they'll ever be captured on record. You know, and
Wow.
and we found a song written by a friend called Buy For Me the Rain. And that ended up on our first album. In fact, it made it possible to make that first album. It started off with a little rain sound. You know, like that with mandolins and banjo. Buy for me the rain, my darling, buy for me the rain. Buy for me the crystal pools that fall upon the plain, and I'll buy for you a rainbow and a million pots of gold. Buy it for me now, dear, before I am too old. And that got us on the radio and got it out there and got us on the road. It was really weird getting on the road the first time in 1967. I mean, we played with groups like Sonny Moore and his Roustabouts. Any idea what that is? It's a guy with 17 dogs. The Roust. Exactly. Woo!
Well, you have 7 kids. That's.
Well, yeah, it's the 7 kids. Yeah, that's different. But he had 17 dogs, and they'd run around on stage barking. We did 2 shows a day at the Multnomah County Fair in 1967 with him. You know, people used to say that they used to make fun of my long hair, but I had long hair before the Beatles even got here. I've had long. I got. Hey, you want to come on the bus? He traveled in a bus, you know,
Well, 7.
with his dogs. Yeah, 17 dogs on a bus. That was an unusual odor.
I'm glad I.
Hey, you want to see Gretchen? Yeah, sure. He shows me a picture of a German Shepherd. She died a few years ago. I got her ashes in the back. I'll bring them out. No, thank you. I'm going to go now.
Interesting situation.
Yeah, and I knew then that I liked show business. And if this guy can exist in it, then maybe I had a place.
Well, do you remember hearing your song on the first time on the radio?
Yeah, I was driving down Sunset Boulevard at 1:10 in the morning, and we finally made an album. We finally were told we're going to get on the radio. All this long wait. It was only 7 months after the group started that we had an album. And that's incredible in today's world. But 7 months, this bunch of kids, I was 20 years old. The other guys were younger than me. They still are. And and KRLA in LA says, here's a new song by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I almost drove off the road. I took all $8 that I had, went to Ranch Market, which was open all night, and filled up with groceries and took it back to the Dirt House, which is a house I rented in Beechwood Canyon for all the Dirt Band, a 4-floor house in the Hollywood Hills. And we're rich, haha, but we're going to make it. We're on the radio. It was such
So they never told you exactly what time this is going to happen, right? It was just at random.
Oh, no, this is at, 1:10 in the morning.
Well, you never know.
And, you know, it was like the guy was giving it a shot, you might say. And it became a hit, especially in L.A. We were hot in L.A. And it made it around the country. It made it to the top 30. In some towns, it was like in the top 10 or number 1 even. But in general, it was a moderate start, followed by 3 albums that were moderately less. They went downhill. And then we got to our 5th album, Uncle Charlie and His Dog Teddy, and that was the one that had some of Shelley's Blues, Mr. Bojangles, House at Pooh Corner. You know House at Pooh Corner? You know, Christopher Robin, and I walked along under branches lit up by the moon. You don't know House at Pooh Corner?
I do now.
Oh, it was Kenny Loggins' first recording. I was so happy to call him. And I made a demo at my house, which I still have, of him doing 5 songs, and we did 4 of them. And that recording at my house was the first recording of Kenny at 18 years old.
Wow.
And he did those songs so perfect. Danny's song, Even Though We Ain't Got Money. Mm-hmm. And
I'm so in love.
yeah, and we Jeff didn't want to do that. He thought it was too much of a hippie song. You know, that Pisces Virgo rising, I don't get that. You know, he didn't like it. But we did 4 of the other ones, and I called Kenny and told him, we're going to put out House at Pooh Corner for our 2nd single. And he was ecstatic. Here he was getting on the radio. He was 19 years old.
Right.
And first time. Then I called him the next day and said, Kenny, the record company called us and said, we can't put out House at Pooh Corner because Disney called them and their legal department says they own it and that we can't do that. And he was all bummed out. Oh, man. Oh. And we talked for a minute, and he hung up, and his girlfriend said, what's wrong, Kenny? He said, oh, Disney said they can't put out House at Pooh Corner. And his girlfriend says, I'm going to call my daddy. Well, who's your daddy? What's he do? Oh, he's the CEO of Disney.
Seriously?
Yeah. This is the way it was in Hollywood. You never knew who you knew who knew somebody. You know, it was a small town. And she called her daddy, and her daddy had a legal department call a record company next day, say they can put it out. And it became a top 20. It was number 1 in Kansas City. It was really House at Pooh Corner did quite well.
Wow.
Kenny was really happy.
The little phone call can do, huh? Wow. So tell us about the early gatherings of Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and you know the founding members as yourself.
Well, Les and me were two of the founding members, and then there was Jeff Hanna and Jimmy Fadden, and they were all hanging around a music store. And this is part of my show, actually. I'm telling you part of what I'm going to do tonight at Natalie's Grand View, and hope some people come to participate in that. And we started playing, and we were basically a jug band, playing good time music. Les was 17, one guy was 18, one was 19, two were 19, and I was 20. And then by the time the first song was on the radio, I was 21. So when we first went on the road, I became the road manager because I was the only one old enough to rent a car. And we had to fly somewhere and drive somewhere. And so here I am road managing. Besides, one guy would not look at the road when he was driving. Another guy was high all the time. And, it was like, well, actually two guys were, but
You were the responsible one.
Well, I was road managing. My brother was a manager, taking photographs. Photographs that show up in this book, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? That for those that are with the camera.
There you go.
There's a red light. There it is. No, it's I took all the photographs that my brother took of the sessions when he was producing them, and shots of the early Dirt Band, and told the story for each one. And they're you're not going to get away. And it's called The Making of a Landmark Album. And there's comments that I had people contribute, like Gary Scruggs and Marty Stewart. Marty Stewart wrote a great piece. I mean, he was 12 years old when this came out.
Wow.
But anyway, that's doing quite well.
And so this amazing album, tell us about the making of that. And there's a lot of contributions from a lot of people.
Yeah, there were.
And tell us about the making of it, though, and how you came up with the whole concept.
It was almost automatic once it started. And when it started, Earl Scruggs was playing Boulder, Colorado. And I was taking him back to the hotel every night. 5 nights he was playing. And the last night, I got up the nerve to ask him, Earl, would you record with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band? And he said, I'd be proud to. And that really sent me for a loop. I'm a banjo player, and Earl Scruggs is going to record with me in my band. I could barely go to sleep that night. I called my brother and told him, and I said, I'm going to ask Doc Watson tomorrow night, because he's playing there the next night. And Doc Watson, I'd met Merle Watson a couple months earlier in L.A. Doc was playing a concert in Los Angeles, where I was living at the time. And it was too crowded to meet Doc. There's too many people wanting to meet him. So I just got to know Merle a bit. And I told Merle, a couple months from now, Earl's playing in Boulder, where you're going to be, and I'm going to ask him if he wants to record with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Let me know. Let me know what he says, because I told him I wanted his dad. He goes, Daddy needs this. That'd be great. This folk music thing is kind of dying out. And he was playing a club in Boulder, Colorado, and there's only about 100 people there. And it held 250, So he was right. The folk music scare was going away. And Doc ended up saying, well, if Earl's going to be there, I want to pick. And I was excited because I'd watch Doc Watson, maybe half as much as Earl, or listen to his recordings. And my father, one time Doc was on TV and he's doing Deep River Blues. Let it rain, let it pour. And my dad says, now how a guy like that gets on television, I don't understand. And I went, you don't understand. I didn't say it, said it in my head, but Doc was great that night.
Wow.
It's only 3 years later that I'm asking him the question, would he record with us? And boy, was that exciting, because he said yes. And my brother said, I'm going to call Merle Travis on Monday and see if he'll join in.
The list keeps going.
So he called Merle Travis, and he joined in. Hey, Bill, we can get Doc and Merle to meet for the first time, and we can capture that on this record. Yeah, let's do that. Well, that happened. Yeah. Merle came when Doc was recording, and that meeting is on the record. It was wonderful. And Earl Scruggs and Louise were responsible for getting Maybelle Carter and Jimmy Martin. And Earl said, I found a fiddle player that can handle all the styles. Well, who's that, Earl? His name's Vassar Clemens.
Wow.
Now, I hadn't heard the name Vassar Clemens. Not many people outside of bands were familiar with him,
Until this album, really.
Well,
for a lot
right,
of people,
until
yeah.
this album, because they didn't do album credits then. They Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys. You didn't know who the Bluegrass Boys were unless you dug into it. Right. Jimmy Martin and the Sunny Mountain Boys. Well, the Sunny Mountain Boys. Oh, yeah, Jim and Jesse and the Virginia Boys. All these boys out there. Boy bands. But Vassar was in all of those groups. He played hot fiddle. A few years after the Circle album, I asked Vassar, I said, Vassar, would you show me how you would play Uncle Pen? And he played it, and I said, that sounds just like did you learn that off that old Bill Monroe record? He goes, John, that was me on that record. I was 17. And that was another noticing history.
Bluegrass Boy.
That he was, I wrote the bridge. It's like really really wonderful to find out. And the album, the people came together. Roy Acuff, we had a meeting with him, and Earl introduced us to Junior Husky, and my brother and he took us to the Opry.
Wow.
That was really something. We walk in the back door of the Opry with the long hair, and there's a bass player playing. Oh boys, I'm looking forward to playing with you all on this song, on the albums. I cut my teeth on these songs. Just a minute. Whoops. He was playing with who was it? Ernest Tubb, and he was talking to us at the same time. So I said, Earl, I think the bass player's good enough. He's great. He didn't make a mistake. Junior Husky. He helped keep us on an even keel too, because he was there. Picked up a maraca one day and shook it. Something's broken inside of here. We ought to tell the engineer. Just
let them know.
Things that made us laugh.
Yeah.
And so everybody came together on different days, and then on the final day, Roy Acuff came in, and we did Circle Be Unbroken, and I Saw the Light, and Precious Jewel, and a couple others. And I was talking to somebody last night about this album. You don't know, that album, he just kept, that means so much to me. I play it still. I've had it for 50 years, and he still plays it. You can still, and what I figured it is, the country was in such a mess then. Vietnam was going on pretty hot, and churches were burning. Kids were getting killed. Marchers were getting shot and killed. 4 dead in Ohio had happened. Most of the millennials nowadays don't know what that means. But if I say 4 dead in Ohio, you know what it means. That's a National Guard opening fire on students. What's going on here?
Right, scary.
And we're in the studio recording. And there were no politics. And that was nice. Maybelle Carter was sweet as an angel. And that album takes you back, transports you back to a time, I don't know, a safe time. A time when songs were simply like the Acuff song I do at the show when I perform tonight.
At Natalie's.
Grandview Music Hall. And it's not very often an interview on the day of a show will get people out, so this will be interesting. If you want to see a fun show with hot pickers, Brian McDowell, Danny Nicely are hot as a pistol. I'll put them up against anybody.
That'd be amazing.
And I try and hold my own. And I've got songs that they can do. But when we do Lost Highway, Wreck on the Highway, what a perfect country song. It's got alcohol, cars, death, blood, all kinds of pretty things.
Sweet.
And I didn't hear nobody pray. And that was when Mr. Acuff told us before we recorded, boys, you got to get it right the first time, and to hell with the rest of them. And he was right.
It is John McEuen joining us live from Studio A. We're going to do that ticket giveaway for the show tonight at Natalie's Music Hall at 7:30 p.m. showtime, and details at nataliesgrandview.com. Also listed on our Facebook events. Mr. McEuen, what are you going to do next for us?
A Doc Watson song called Finger Buster. Made it.
John McEuen, live from Studio A, and caller number 5 wins a pair of tickets to the show tonight at Natalie's.
There's 5 people listening?
But I should go for 10.
Oh, wow.
I hope there's more than 5 people listening. Come on now, you're on the radio.
Oh, well,
There better be. I'm sure there's like millions.
Yeah.
And you can see us live on Facebook Live and the YouTube channel as well. 614-821-9223 for John McEuen and the Circle Band tonight. Tell us about when you saw the Dillards, what that did for you and changed your life.
Well, it sure did. Somebody said to me, I was 17 and a half, hey, you want to go see the Dillards? What are Dillards? Well, they're from Missouri, and I went to this club in Orange County, and I'm not one of these people that does this, has my leg jump up and down. You know how some people do that?
Mm-hmm. When they're...
Where's the camera?
Yeah.
Maybe you can't see it.
Now
But
that
I was
they got you.
sitting in this club and waiting for the Dillards, and I had no idea what they were going to do. And both of my legs started doing that, and my hands got sweaty, and I'm going, and it's like, what's going on here? I think I'm getting sick or something. And then the announcer says, now, ladies and gentlemen, make welcome from Salem, Missouri, the Dillards. And they went on stage and lit into Hickory Hollow, and my heart stopped pretty much. After the show, I went up to meet Rodney, and the banjo picker, Doug, was an incredible player. And he took my breath away. And Rodney told me, if you want a banjo, I didn't have one. Go, take the fifth string off your guitar and put a first string on and put a H.O. railroad spike at the fifth fret. And I went, okay. I had to go back the next night to ask him how to tune it. And he told me, so I had a guitar banjo for, until my birthday that year. My dad bought me my first banjo.
Aw.
And at 18 years old. Kind of a late start. But I practiced 8 hours a day. Sometimes 9.
Because of the Dillards meeting Rodney, or who?
Rodney and Doug.
Yeah, okay.
And Dean and Mitch. They were a perfect combination of the Smothers Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs. And funny. Oh, man, they were funny. And
so why were you shaking? Going back to...
I don't know.
Oh, so it
I
wasn't...
do not know, other than it was...
Because they weren't performing. It wasn't loud and things were going nuts.
No, they weren't. No, it was a folk club. I was, I was just premonition, I think. Something is going to change in your life. Wait till you see this. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm sitting here talking to you is because of that. Mm-hmm. Because I was not doing much then. I had a dog and a banjo. And a guitar. And that was about it.
So guitar was your first instrument out of all the strings? Wow. And so this was pre-Andy Griffith
But
show.
it was 6 months of the guitars. My brother was teaching me how to do things like, and I do that for, okay. It was like, I learned Freight Train. It was like this. I couldn't do. Anyway, it took a while. I was a slow learner, I think. But anyway.
Now, when you saw the Dillards, was that before or during their Andy Griffith time?
I then saw them on the Andy Griffith show.
Okay.
And that really, then I looked for them. I got their first album, Back Porch Bluegrass, and played it all day long, every day, and learning what I could off of it. And I was in college at the time.
Nice. And
I realized I wasn't going to be a math major anymore.
This was going a different direction.
Well,
but math still has a lot to do with it, right?
Well, yeah, but I had one of my classes was calculus, and it was my first D. A D? I got a D? Oh, no.
You passed.
Well, yeah, barely. But I was spending time in the music room playing the banjo because it was taking me away.
Wow.
But I was getting an F in music history. I'd fall asleep. It was boring, and I asked the guy, for term paper, can I do a concert? And I called up a new friend who had just moved to L.A., a blind guitar player, and we played a 1 hour concert at the college. I ended up getting an A in the class. That was Jose Feliciano.
Wow.
He was fresh to L.A. He hadn't had any hits yet.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I would drive him around. We'd play coffee houses. Hey, can I come in and play with my friend here? And yeah, what's the deal with the dog? Well, he's blind. Oh, okay. And we'd go on and you can do 3 songs. We'd end up doing like 10, 12.
Not getting rid of us.
Yeah, the audience wouldn't let him leave.
It just kept cheering for more.
And then it was really fun.
Oh, wow. Well, tell us about your friend and a longtime friend to this day and fellow banjo player, Steve Martin. You went to high school together.
Steve and I met
Or when you were in high school. Is
Yeah,
that right? Okay.
we were both trying to get a job in Disneyland at the Magic Shop, and we got it on the same day. It was really wonderful, doing magic tricks all day long. 16 years old, working in Disneyland. He'd worked there 4 years before that, maybe 5, selling guidebooks and popcorn and stuff. But he wanted to work at the Magic Shop, and so did I.
Who wouldn't?
And
Magic.
we celebrated by having lunch in Tomorrowland. I had a tuna sandwich. It was a really good one, too. Chicken of the sea. And that started our friendship. The next year, we were in high school together, the senior year. And we played chess every lunch hour. The score was 83 to 85. And I'm not sure who was ahead. I think I was.
I'm sure of it.
But who knows? Those were magic times. No pun intended. No pun was intended. but worked in Disneyland for 3 years. And Steve really cherished that time because, let's put it this way, the guy's made a lot of money, more money than any of us have, right? I mean, he's got like, I don't know, $500 million or more. And he has every piece of artwork that he's ever wanted. He bought a Picasso one year in June for $12 million. He sold it in September for $18 million. You know, he knows his art.
Wow.
He emailed me all excitedly, "Look what I found on eBay." And I thought I was going to open up a Picasso or something. It was a sign from the Magic Shop, Merlin's Magic Shop. He bought the Merlin's Magic Shop sign. I don't know where he put it, but it's...
That's great, though.
He was so excited. That was really neat that he's excited. And he's become a great father. He had a kid many years ago. You know, he got married, and we were going to have lunch one day. He goes, "Hey, can I postpone the lunch for about an hour and a half? I've got a PTA meeting to go to." Steve, I never thought I'd hear you say PTA. But that was really funny.
But he did, yeah.
Yeah.
So was he playing banjo when you were working at the store together?
We
Was
both
he playing
started. We both started kind of about the same exact time, and he likes. I'm glad that he says that I taught him how to play, but he had a natural ability to find melodies and stuff that were not ones that I found. Anyway, we kind of started together, and I showed him a bunch of stuff, but it'd be like, "Okay, Steve, we get to there, he goes, "Okay, I got it." You know, he'd rush through it, but then he did get it, and it was great. And I produced his album, The Crow.
The Crow, Grammy winning. Yeah, it was the Grammy-winning bluegrass album that year.
Yeah, I told him, "Steve, you've got to do all your own songs. It's going to be best. He was going to do a version of Little Maggie and something of something else, and along with some of his songs. But if I don't have enough, write 2 more." And he did. Yeah. And it won. I said, "This is going to win a Grammy, Steve." He said, "No way." Well, it had several things working in its favor. I'd like to say, first, me producing it, because I understood what Steve Martin liked. Aaron Copland is one of his favorites. Mm-hmm. Music Man. You got trouble, my friends, trouble right here in River City. Why, sure, I'm a billiard player. Certainly mighty proud to say I'm always mighty proud to say it. You know, Music Man, Flatt and Scruggs, and I can't remember the fourth one. Anyway, and I told him, I says, "I understand these 4 things," in Disneyland. And I produced the album, and I knew that, that was fun. That was 11 years ago. Yeah, Vince Gill ought to sing this, and I think he should do it with Dolly Parton. Well, that sounds good, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to get Vince? Just a minute. And I called Vince on my cell phone. Hey, Vince, I'm producing an album on Steve Martin. Would you sing one of the songs? Okay, I'll send it to you. Bye. Vince is in, because he didn't have a number on Vince. And I met Vince Gill when he was playing rhythm guitar with Byron Berline, the fiddle player, at Kutztown, Pennsylvania, at a festival. Byron Berline's fiddle band was opening for the Dirt Band and had a guitar player playing rhythm behind him, It was a 17-year-old Vince Gill. And we've remained friends over the years. And and I put Dolly and Vince and Earl Scruggs on that song. And that was really fun.
Yeah, we loved playing that one too.
Oh, The Crow, you play it? Great, yeah.
And from time to time, Will the Circle Be Unbroken comes out of the library.
Yeah, but you don't get any of my stuff, do you? You familiar with Made in Brooklyn?
Yes, right
Oh.
here. I have it, mister.
Oh, I'm
Played
sorry.
that too.
Thank you. I take it back.
Oh, it's really well. So Steve Martin, obviously, people sometimes think, comedy before his music, but he's kind of always done that along with everything else he's done. Was he funny at the store, like we all know him to be when you worked together?
We were all trying to be funny because we're trying to sell stuff. And when people are laughing, they're more inclined to buy. As you make them, then they can get into it, kind of. But
Did you work on commission?
No.
Okay.
Dang it. There was this one trick deck of cards called the Svengali deck, where all the cards appear to be the same, then they'd all change. And anyway, I sold 152 Svengali decks one day. That was a record.
Wow.
That's a lot, 152.
Yeah. How do you spell that? What is that?
Svengali, Svengali.
That's a lot of decks.
Yeah, I made $1.10 an hour.
Woo.
Yeah, add it up, boy, I'll tell you.
Yeah. But you loved it too, right?
Well, I must have, because I put in an average of 12-hour days. One week I worked 92 hours.
So you could buy some new strings.
Biggest check I'd ever seen, $123.
Oh, that's wow.
Yeah, and I didn't need strings. I wasn't playing yet.
Oh, I thought you were both started playing while you were at the Magic.
No, yeah, we did, but it was.
You hadn't broken any
I
strings.
was 16 when I started, and 17 when I started playing.
Gotcha.
And 18 when I started picking banjo, and that was an exciting time. I mean, it was such a. I taught at 2 different music stores. I was making $30 an hour. In 1964.
A little more than that dollar.
Oh, yeah, and I was just shocked. I mean, I'd teach 3 hours one place and 2.5 hours at the other place. And then...
That's a lot of money back then.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Gas was $0.25 a gallon.
Wow.
Eggs were free, I think. I don't know. But everything was cheaper.
Yeah.
And...
That's a good living.
Yeah. Well, when you only work 5 hours a week, it's kind of...
Well, that's true. You got to weigh those. But then, gosh, I don't know. There's just so much. You've done so much. I mean, you also are a radio host, right?
I have a show on satellite radio, XM Sirius. It's called The Acoustic Traveler, 17 years, maybe 18. I owe them a show.
If you're just tuning in, John McEuen is live from Studio A.
Hi.
And tonight's the show at Natalie's.
Yeah.
7:30 sharp.
With Brian McDowell and Danny Nicely, who are 2 great guitar and mandolin players, and Les Thompson, an original nitty-gritty dirt band player, like I was. I played in the dirt band for 50 years. 50 years, oh man.
Still going strong.
Well, I left, 5 years ago. At the end of the 50th year tour, which was a year and a half, typical dirt band. Celebrate our 50th year for a year and a half.
Typical.
But at the end of that tour, I got off the bus and said, bye, and I've got things to do. And these books and a couple of albums, and I got a new album coming out. Haven't had one since Made in Brooklyn.
Right.
And I hope people give it a shot or hear about it or try it or whatever.
So it's coming out. Is it in the can?
Yeah, it's March 22nd, Compass Records.
Oh, great.
And
That's right around the corner.
yeah.
And is it a solo thing, or did you have a band with you?
It's hard to explain. It's spoken word. Like the Fly Trouble song is a spoken word thing, but it's with music. It's spoken word with music. Like
Give us a snippet, if you will.
I did with Fly Trouble. But that has a whole band. Mark O'Connor's playing on Fly Trouble, and he's really hot. So, I can't remember the first time I met Old Rivers. It seems like that old fellow was always around. Spent his whole life doing hard work. Always walking that plowed ground. He had a one-room shack about a mile from us. We were about as poor as him. Had an old mule called Midnight Oil. I'd tag along after them. He'd plow them rows straight and deep. I'd follow along behind, busting up dirt clods with my own two bare feet. Old Rivers, he was a friend of mine. Well, the sun would get hot, that mule would work. Old Rivers would finally say, whoa. He'd lean back on his plow and talk about how there was a place he was going to go. He'd say, one of these days I'm going to climb that mountain, walk up there among them clouds where the corn is high and the cotton's growing, and there ain't no fields to plow. I got a letter today from the folks back home. They're all fine, the crops is dry. Down at the end, my mom said, son, Old Rivers, he died. I'm sitting here now on this new plowed earth, trying to find me a little shade. I look across that field and I see that mule, Old Rivers, and me. Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna climb that mountain, walk up there among them clouds where the cotton is high and the corn is growing, and there ain't no fields to plow. No, there ain't no fields to plow. Yeah, I'm sitting here now in this, trying to find a little shade. I look across that field and I see that mule, Old Rivers, and me.
John McEuen live from Studio A. So that song will be on the new album out on March 20th.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice.
That's
A radio debut.
yes, it is, and I've never done that live. I've never done it on the anyway. First time. It's a song that got to me when I first heard it in 1963.
Old River.
And I thought about, I'm going to go up where the cotton's growing and no fields to plow. And it really says a lot.
Wow.
Well, I hope people like it. But I've got a song on there that the lyrics came from a man that served in Vietnam. He wrote them when he was doing a battle at Nui Ba Din. And he sent the lyrics to his brother, and I put music to that. It's called Nui Ba Din, and it's a Vietnam veteran's. It's really a tough story, but anyway. And The Cremation of Sam McGee is one of my favorite poems. You know that one? Written by Robert Service in 1907. And it's about an old miner, gold miner, that just wants to be cremated. And it's really funny. It's a funny story. And I listen to that thing 5 times a week. And then there's one called Killed at the Ford, a Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem that has singing and playing, and a poem about a guy that just went, we were riding along and all of a sudden a whistling ball comes out of the woods and he fell dead. And you have to hear the whole thing. It's
Well, we will
I hope so.
eventually once you have your handlers send it our way.
Yeah, you will have one.
March 20th it comes out.
Yes, ma'am. 22nd.
22nd. John McEuen, live from Studio A. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us, and it's an honor to have you here today.
Well, thank you. Like I said to my mother, thanks for having me.
One last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you get those socks?
The what?
Your socks.
Oh, my daughter gave them to me. Yeah.
They're awesome. All right. What's this last song you're going to take us out with today?
Oh, I thought I just did it.
Oh, well, we can't. You can noodle around. Show us some of your skills.
On guitar, are you kidding? I wish. How much time do we have?
You've got. Well, you can take as much time as you want.
This is going to D tuning. In D tuning, it's very handy. If you play the banjo, you can do a lot with just the thumb index, thumb middle. Thumb index, thumb middle, thumb middle. And you do that for a while and put some chords to it. And you end up with what I did with it. I can't wait to play it tonight. Brian sings Long Hard Road, the Dirt Band's first #1 record. And I started off in this tuning on guitar. Recognize that? You know, way back in my memory, there's a scene that I recall. Well, I don't sing it worth anything. But I like to use this tuning to do